This is week 7. I am pretty exhausted. I'll tell you why later. But let's get on with this. G'day, this is Bootlosophy, my channel on boot reviews. And if we haven't met, my name is Tech. I'm shooting on Wadjet country at the moment in Perth in Western Australia. Now, if you don't know what this series is about, 12 boots in 12 weeks, go and see this setup video here and then go to my channel and look for the playlist 12 boots in 12 weeks. And you see that I've set up a challenge for myself, chose 12 pairs of boots out of my 140 something pairs of boots that I have to wear within a 12-week period. And I'm only limited to those boots. Harder than you think. So this is week 7. And I am pretty tired because for the last 4 and a bit weeks now, I've been doing a lot of traveling for business. I've been up to the Northern Territory, into Darwin, and also further out into the Northern Territory. And it's tiring work. You know, I'm standing in front of a group of executives or a group of community people, facilitating workshops to decide on the strategic planning for their not-for-profit organization. But anyway, this last week, week 7, I have been at home for the first time in, as I said, 4 or 5 weeks. I am extremely tired. In fact, I took Friday off from work proper, having got home, written my report, lots of pictures and graphs and everything, and then sent it off. And so I was able to afford to take a day off before this week now, this coming week, where I've got my own work to do inside the office. That's the setup. What were the boots I wore this week? Well, the 2 pairs of boots I wore most frequently were these 2. The Nicks Overlander and the Blundstone 1306. Now don't get excited. When I say I wore these the most frequently, it means I wore them the most number of times, not for the longest times. For those of you who've seen this series, you know by now that I think that I keep the Blundstones next to me on the couch. They're very useful for slipping on and off because they're Chelsea boots, and I use them for things like, you know, oh, forgot a pint of milk, so off to the shops, or walk to the shops to get some milk, maybe a quick pint at the pub down the road, and you know, it's something as simple as taking the rubbish out. Quick in and out boots. So I wore these every day, but like for a maximum of an hour a day from time to time. And these, the Nicks Overlander, again, if you've been watching the series, you know that I go for a morning walk of 30 to 40 minutes, and I wore these every day in the morning. I have not had an opportunity to wear them in tough action, but if you want to see that, go and see my travelogue on going to Tasmania, which you can see in that video. But so again, I've worn these frequently, like every day, but you know, 30 to 40 minutes a day is hardly enough to put much more wear and patina on these. I look forward to wearing these in action, as it were. Okay, so what were the other boots I wore this week? Well, last weekend, last Saturday and Sunday, it was a sunny day. We're now in the end of winter. It's pissing down outside at the moment. There's a storm warning coming. But last weekend was a really sunny weekend. And the first time ever in this series, the JimGreen Numzaan made an appearance. I've told you before, I think that this is my gardening boot. So last weekend, I used it gardening. I went out and did weeding. So the yard, front and back, have had half the autumn and all of winter untended. So weeds grew. You know, not heavy use, but I wore these out there. Very protective boots, particularly if you're hoeing things out or digging things out. And they're very comfortable. I find this frog grip sole just incredibly comfortable and hard wearing. Bits of it are starting to fall off, but you know, I've had these for a while now. The leather takes a tendency to recover from scratching, as you can see, I'm hoping. And it comes back well once you condition it and you know, really rub some oils in. Waterproof as well, so really good. Wore them for the two weekend days gardening. On Sunday, these made an appearance. The Russell Moccasin Backcountry, one of my most comfortable boots. And if you've seen my other videos and my older videos, you see that I do say this is extremely comfortable, except on one specific use case, and that's on rough cobblestones, because the cobbles do, there's not a lot of padding because it's a real moccasin construction that sits on a leather midsole that also acts as the welt. So all you've got is two pieces of leather, which is the vamp upside down, the veg-tan leather midsole, and then the rubber Rochia sole. And because of that, there's no cork padding or anything like that. When you hit cobbles, it can be quite uncomfortable. On flat concrete, not so bad. In the wild, absolutely perfect. I wore these to go out for a walk on Sunday. And then after that walk in the park, it was about an hour and a half, I think. After that walk, my wife and I went shopping, so there's a lot to do in supermarkets and stuff. Comfortable. The other boot that made an appearance in the middle of the week, I had a break between the pair that I was wearing all week, are these Trickers Stow boots. These are in their Hydro Nubuck, highly waterproof. It was a very rainy week, so wherever we went out, it was raining. And this is one of those things where the water literally rolls off the vamp, like in drops and dribbles. It doesn't soak in waterproof, it actually rolls off waterproof. Comfort-wise, I haven't got there yet. I've said in earlier reviews and in earlier reports, I just don't understand it. It's quite a flat boot. I have put in, you can't see it, but I've put in a little wedgie stick-on that you can get from pharmacies here in Australia, which is basically a heel build-up. I don't know. I'm still waiting for that insole to theoretically break in and then mold to the shape of the foot. Before that, right this minute, I find without that extra arch support, it's a very flat insole. We shall persevere. This one, though, is the boot that I wore for the rest of the week. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday. This is the Parkhurst Stitchdown Richmond boot on their 618 last. I have reviewed this. You can go and see the review. It's in their dark olive rough out. So first of all, it's a real toe cap. There's a vamp piece and then the toe cap goes on. It's built on the 618 last, which is Parkhurst's newest last. Very narrow in the heel, very narrow in the waist, opens out to a very broad almost double E width at the ball. And then despite this sort of, quite a tapered almond look, it tapers proportionately so it doesn't squeeze your toes. In fact, I feel no squish in this at all. The rough out is from CF Stead. I think it's what the English call suede rough out. And by that they mean it's a rough out with full grain on the inside, as opposed to split suedes, which is the bottom half of the hide. This is waxed and oiled to Andrew's specifications by CF Stead. And when I unboxed this, there was definitely a waxy feeling. And what this does in the wet and the wild and woolly weather we've had, it's also waterproof, but unlike the Trickers, the water doesn't roll off. It kind of gets absorbed into the nap of the rough out, but you don't feel it on the inside. There's obviously enough waxes on the surface and obviously enough oils in the tanning that the water just doesn't go through. I'm absolutely clear on that. It's had a bit of wear. I didn't think rough out showed this, but I think this is because of the waxes and the oils. And you can see a bit of wear where I kick things with my right toe. I just don't know why. Little bit of damage to the edge at the front as well. Otherwise, it's keeping up well. Comfort-wise, a fantastic last. It grips the heel. It's very snug in the waist so that you're very stable on your feet. And it's very comfortable in that wide ball. Really, really excellent. The proprietary Commando lug sole is grippy, but if I have a complaint, I think it is quite firm. And on a Stitchdown, where, if you don't know, the uppers are lasted and flared out and then stitched down to the sole construction. So what you get is the leather insole, the midsole and no cork filler in between, and then you have this fairly firm rubber. So the footfall, particularly in the ball of the feet, can be quite firm. So I wore this for most of the week. It is beginning, as you can see, to roll and so on. There's rolls in the vamp, and it's coming along nicely. I don't expect rough out to patina too much, except maybe with the waxes, you get some of this on some of the high spots still to come. We shall see. This is week 7. I want to go back to the Nicks Overlander. When I reviewed this, I had a viewer comment, and his name is Umberto Smith 7014. He had a very thoughtful comment, and what he said was he disagreed with my talking about its comfort. He says it's very comfortable out hiking in the wild, but on city concrete he found it extremely uncomfortable because it's got so much thickness and hardness underneath for protection. And it made me think, because I do think this is comfortable on city concrete. I find that if you size this right, and this was sized right for me by Nicks, if you size it right, you find the uppers wrap around your feet, so it's very protective, and there's no lateral slippage, there's no backward and forward slippage. It literally does wrap around you to protect you. And then what I find is the buildup of leathers that's underneath, including the arch support and the leather shank and everything. There is sufficient give for you to immediately feel as if you're sinking into that leather, despite its thick, veg tan durability. And so I find that even on city concrete, the stability it gives me equals the comfort. But then I thought, you know what? Different people have different feet, don't they? I mean, that's obvious, duh. But comfort has to do with things like how your feet feel these things. And comfort has to do with what socks you're wearing. Now, Umberto sounds like he's a very experienced boot person, so I'm sure he wears boot socks. But I find when I wear my thick merino boot socks, which add to the comfort because they're slightly padded in different areas, they've got like extra weave in different areas, it just feels so comfortable no matter what the surface. If I put on different boot socks that have just uniform padding, it has a different feel. If I wear thinner wool socks, not comfortable. It just doesn't feel right. And then on top of the socks, you have your own individual feet, where mine, for example, obviously, apparently, like the comfort of the support and the way it grips, and I think the right size helps a lot, and the way it gives me stability, and that to me is comfort. To others, and I was one of these once, a sneaker is unique comfort because it's so squishy, it's so bouncy, walk along and you're almost like bouncing on the moon. I don't get that these days. And then there are others, which I presume like Umberto, he appreciates the snugness and the support, but then his feet will feel the insides a lot more firmer. Very strange. But that's why we're in the boot world, aren't we? Okay, so there we are. This is week 7. What are my thoughts so far again? I give you a little bit of this every week. 12 boots is very difficult to do. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine how you join the Stitchdown Patina Thunderdome and wear one pair of boots. It's difficult to make choices when you're dressing up, particularly if you work in an office, and then you tend to need office boots a lot more. And I unfortunately really chose only 2 with a couple of casuals that I could wear. I found the Parkhurst in the dark olive a very versatile color. You can wear it with black jeans. You can wear it with obviously blue jeans. You can wear it with tan chinos, for example. It works really well. The only thing for the office I find is this contrast stitching makes it a little less versatile than if it were matching dark olive stitching. I don't think this matters as much. I think this definitely does. And one of the things I wondered, because it's less versatile, I've got these Parkhurst standard rawhide laces in. I'm just wondering what happens because of the contrast stitching if I put on different colored, maybe even bright colored paracord laces. Wood sell a number of different paracord laces made locally, and I'm thinking of trying them out and maybe mixing and matching, some sets to see what they might look like. I wonder what they're like. Tell me what you think if I put different colored paracord laces in these. So there you are. Keep watching. I'm going to come back next week with a review of a pair of boots. It might be a bag. I'm sort of getting a bit mixed up of what I'm uploading first. But then after that, I'm going to put week 8's report up. So don't miss that. And if you want to catch up, if you haven't been watching this, go to my channel, look for the playlist, 12 Boots in 12 Weeks, and go and play the whole lot. And while you're there, and while you're here, click on like, click on subscribe. I'd love to see you back here again. Take care.